Good morning, everyone. After I uploaded my last video, the comparison between the LCD-2 closed and the LCD-XC, one of my viewers, subscribers, asked a couple of questions about which one is better between the two for mixing and mastering. And that's not a question I can really answer. Even though and excuse me, it's a long pause, I had to take a sip of coffee. Even though in the review yesterday, I told you that one is for mixing and mastering and the other one is for essentially just music listening pleasure. That's because those are the characteristics of the headphones. Audeze specifically designed these two headphones to two different things. And they need to be applauded for doing it so well, for making the difference so obvious. There are many times from big manufacturers that they have a line of headphones. They say that one particular pair of headphones is for listening smoothness, pleasure, and the other one is really detailed. And there's hardly any difference between the two, even though there's a huge price difference. Not only is there a big price difference between the XC and the two closed, but they have very different sound signatures, and it's quite telling. But the question was, which one is better for mixing and mastering? Well, the thing is, I can't answer that for you. Only you can answer that for you. Mixing and mastering is a personal preference. You can use the Koss Porta Pro that goes for $50. You can buy this on Mastrodrop, I think, and on Amazon and eBay, and these are supposed to be phenomenal headphones, very retro style. You can use these for mixing and mastering, as long as you know what the sound signature is and what you're going to hear from these headphones. And if you're okay with that, then that's the way your music is going to be mastered, tuned to that particular pair of headphones with the amp DAC that you're using, if you're using one. Alternatively, you could pick any one of the many Audeze LCD series headphones, from the GX, which is a gaming headphone, which is really just one of the lower spec Audeze's, less pricey Audeze's with a microphone attachment. That's all there is. All the way to the 4Z, which is $4,000. You can do whatever you want. You can use one of their IEMs, the in-ear monitors, to mix and master. You can use the Classic to mix and master. You can use any one of these things. Or you can use any Sennheiser, the lowest spec Sennheiser that you find used on eBay for $50. That's, HD 559. It won't matter. If you know what the characteristic of the headphone is, then you have at least a fairly good idea of what the characteristic of the song is going to be. That dovetails into audiophiles and artists like Kanye saying things like, you need to listen to my music, or you need to listen to the music the way I intended. Well, I'm sorry, I can't listen to the music the way you intended because I don't have $1 million in my pocket to go and have a home studio built in my luscious, expansive house and then have all my homies come over and then we're all shooting the shit and I cussed, I'm sorry, shooting the breeze and listening on my, $15,000, $20,000, $40,000 speakers. That's not realistic. That's what you do. That's what you did, right? You put in all that effort. You used all these devices to get the sound that you wanted to hear, but I can't get that same sound. That's one of the reasons I find such commentary ridiculous. And for audiophiles to say you need to have this particular type of setup to get the true experience behind music is, it's self-righteous, number one. And number two, it's very condescending towards the other people who really want to enjoy their music and are constantly told you can't enjoy the music until you get this, until you correct this problem that you have. Well, it's not a problem. It's not a problem. For many decades, I listened to music in the car, in an old beat up Mazda, for example, and then it upgraded. Or I listened to music off of the AirPods most recently, and I thought, oh, those sound great. I listened to music on I remember once my parents got me one of those radios, headphones, where you put the headphone on and it's got a radio antenna. It's a really 80s thing, and they got it for me from a cheap magazine way in early 90s. And to me, that was fantastic. As a child, I didn't know the difference, and I'd never understood that sound comes differently from different types of headphones. Not until, say, recently, when I became more aware of that. But I was happy and I was content with what I had before. And if you're happy and you're content with what you have, and you're okay with the sound signature you're getting from your current headphone, then who gives a care? Who cares what other people say? It's the same type of philosophy or mentality when people say, you need to correct your attitude so that you please me. Well, I'm sorry, but that's not how life works. I don't have to go around pleasing you or anybody else. Now, there's general rules, obviously, but why should I conform to you? Because you don't think that I'm worthy without confirmation? Conformity, not confirmation, conformity. So, I know that got way outside the ballpark, but it doesn't matter. If your question is, which one is better for mixing and mastering, I can't answer that. I can only tell you what the signatures are. The XC provides more detail, it's more impact, it's less forgiving to the type of music recording that you have, whereas the two closed are much, much more forgiving. They're much more relaxing to listen to. So if you master with the two closed, you mix with the two closed, you're getting that particular sound signature. You're going to, and it really just depends on what can happen. There's two possibilities. Number one, if you're using the two closed, number one, you may sit there and go, this is just not strong enough. There's not enough treble. I'm going to add a little bit of treble. I'm going to increase the peak here on the curve. Or you'll say, there's a little bit too much bass here. I'm going to decrease, and I'm going to roll it off a little bit sooner. And that's a sound signature that I like. Pair it with the two closed. And then you master it, and then it's gone. Now you distribute it, and other people are listening to it. And other people are listening to that mastered piece of music on Sennheisers, on Koss, on Audeze, on Denons, on Bear Dynamics, on cheap headphones, on Apple headphones, on Beats, God forbid. And they're all getting a very different experience. All of them. Because all of those headphones have very different sound signatures. Right? But what you did while mastering in this first example is that you boosted the treble and you curved off the bass. And so people are going to hear a boosted treble on a Sennheiser or another pair of headphones that is much more neutral, much more curved, much more manufactured, because I said that the two closed have a manufactured sound, a relaxed manufactured sound, gentle sound. Those individuals that have more neutral headphones are going to find that the music is really treble friendly, right? It's got more treble and not enough bass. And they're going to say, well, what's going on here? Individuals who have the two closed who are listening to your music will say, well, this sounds great. So that's the number one thing that's going to happen. Number two, you might just sit there and go, I like this signature. I'm not going to make any changes. I love how things are reproduced on the two closed. And you're going to send that out, and people are going to hear whatever they hear. No particular emphasis on anything. It's just going to be, whatever the sound signature is. Maybe it's a little less detailed. Maybe it's a little more muted in certain frequencies. And neutral headphones are going to pick that up. So those are the two possibilities. But if you go with something like the XC that does have more detail, that is less forgiving, that is more transparent, then what you're going to end up doing is, if something it sounds too peaky to you in the recording, then you're going to mix that down. You're going to master that down. You're going to find a way to roll off that peak a little bit sooner. And if something sounds bass anemic, you're going to add a little bit of a boost. Or vice versa. And then you're going to master, you're going to send it out, and people are going to hear what you hear. So neutral headphones are neutral because they have a baseline. We got to start somewhere, right? We all have to start somewhere when we're mixing and mastering. We all have to have kind of a basement level, and neutral headphones tend to be the basement level. This is how we're going to master. This is as neutral as we get. And then from there on out, people go and buy their own headphones and their own DACs and amps, and they do their own EQ and all that stuff. And they get to play around with the music. This particular pair of headphones is neutral, so I'm going to hear the song as it was, pretty much how it was mastered. Or this particular pair of headphones, like a Denon, is really warm and luscious and blah, 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 and I'm going to hear that. But you start off with a neutral sound, essentially. So now you got to figure out what type of sound signature you really want. Do you want neutrality in your music? And you don't want to really worry about, oh my God, if I master with the two closed, or maybe the Denon D2000, what's going to happen to the music? I mean, do I have to account for all that other stuff? Yeah, you might, or you may not. It's totally in your ballpark. It's on your side of the court, essentially. You get to decide how you want to master your music. You get to decide what is most important for you. If you like the sound signature you're hearing from your particular headphones, then that's fine. You don't need to go out and buy an $1,800 pair of headphones. And by the way, never pay full price. And definitely don't pay on the manufacturer's website, because that's a markup. You know that. Or do you go out and buy headphones that are double the cost and try to get that neutrality? All depends on what you want. So the question that was posed to me, which one is better for mixing and mastering, is a question I will decline to answer. That is not up to me. I do not answer those questions. I only tell you the specifics of what I hear and what the sound characteristics are and how the manufacturer has marketed the particular item. Which one is better or best, that's not what I do. Other reviewers do that. You can go to other YouTube pages and online articles, and plenty of people giving their personal opinion. This is the best headphone for X. This is the worst headphone X. That's a personal preference. I don't do that. I'm not here to tell you what to do with your money. I'm not here to tell you what to do with a particular pair of headphones. There's no such thing as the best. There's never a thing called the best, because as soon as you say this is the best, there's something else that comes out that's better. You know why? Because there's a higher price tag attached to that other thing. And you will always find somebody who's going to say, oh, that much more expensive item is definitely a lot better. Right? So it's a never-ending effort to find, quote, the best. You're not looking for the best. You're looking for what works for you. And when you have that type of mindset, finding what works for you and being content with it, then all of a sudden chasing the best doesn't matter anymore. And you're a happier person for it, and so is your wallet. I mean, your wallet's not a happy person, but your wallet is happy if it were a person. Does that kind of make sense? The other question I wanted to very briefly and quickly address is, can I EQ the LCD-2 closed and then compare to the XCs? Well, I could. I don't know a whole lot about EQing. I've tried to figure it out, but it's a whole science in itself. And there are people who review headphones for a living. I mean, for a living, get money off of it, who do EQ. DMS does a lot of EQing, and he's great at what he does. I don't know anything about mixing and mastering. I wouldn't even begin to understand EQ. I've tried to do EQ, and it turned out really poorly. I could do EQ, but I don't want to EQ because then that's just my sound preference, right? I mean, I want to judge headphones as they're presented by the manufacturer. I can change the pads. I can work on the headband. I can try balanced cable versus the regular stock cable. I can do all that because most people can do that. Most people can't EQ properly. And so I'm not going to go and try to make the effort of EQing because, number one, I'm not confident I can do it properly. And number two, if I could do it properly, there's no guarantee that you can do it. And so it's kind of a false advertisement to you to say, for me to say, I EQ'd this and now these headphones are, I'm going to use this word, the perfect headphone. Because then that might imply that you should buy those headphones because they're the perfect headphone. Well, what if you get those headphones and you're trying to EQ and you can't EQ, and now all of a sudden, not only are you out of money, but you're also very disappointed with what you got? That's not my job to do. I won't EQ unless I'm doing it for fun and just to mess around, then maybe I'll EQ. But I'm not going to EQ to try to sell you on a particular pair of headphones. I'm not here to sell you on any particular pair of headphones. I'm just telling you what the headphones do or don't do. Hopefully that answers the question posed by my subscriber. And so this is a response to the questions that this individual gave to me. I hope everyone has a wonderful morning. It's 6:09. I'm going to be late for work. I will upload another video, hopefully tomorrow, with a request. Now, there's going to be two things. The first thing I am going to do definitely is an LCD-2 closed versus the Audeze 99 Classics. Why? They're not, Matt. Very different, right? But the test here is going to be a unique test. It's going to be which one is a more warm, soothing pair of headphones. And we're going to use a tube amplifier. Okay? So that's going to be the test. Now, the second one, based upon a viewer request, is going to be the 2 closed or the XC. I have to go back and check the comments versus the EL8, and I'll just upload that. That's fine. That's going to happen probably Sunday. Cross your fingers. Have a wonderful morning. Happy Friday, and if it's not Friday, hopefully it's Saturday or it's close to being Friday. The time zones throw me off. Have a wonderful day, and I hope that you all enjoy your music experience.